So something pretty huge just happened to Ripple slash XRP. For those of you that did not know, they apparently are going to be leveraging a $1 billion cash reserve for expansion. And at the same time, I'm seeing articles like this: Ripple invests $40 million in decentralized infrastructure fund. They apparently are going to be joining or strengthening the Web3 arena by participating in Dispersion Capital's newly announced $40 million fund. Now, we don't know exactly how much money they're putting into this $40 million fund. The venture capital or the venture firm is an early stage one, meaning they buy into these projects as early as possible in terms of decentralization, fundamental aspect of Web3 concept. And apparently they've already funded 20 companies, each receiving follow-on financing post-investment. Actually, if you want to make it simple, Ripple is just investing money into a company that's investing. They, theoretically speaking, could be doing it themselves, but this way, the investment firm here has the expertise of Ripple, but most importantly, Ripple doesn't have to be hands-on on everything and just oversee what the investment firm is doing with their money. So simply put, they're a liquidity provider. Anyway, apparently even Circle Ventures has been pretty excited about this specific fund, and they've been getting some backing from a couple of different ones, so this could be pretty juicy. Like we said before, or just now, Ripple is going to leverage $1 billion for all this for the expansion. As it says right here by Ari, Ripple aspires to be more than just liquidity and payments. Acquisitions in crypto-friendly markets like UAE and Switzerland for expansion. And we talked about this pretty recently, I think, when Ripple invested, it was a couple days ago, when Ripple invested in another custody provider. But also, I believe a couple years ago already, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse stated that this whole payments realm is just the first vertical. They're going to be going for massive expansion, and, well, this kind of proves it. You can read right here, they're planning to invest big in the UAE and Switzerland. And they're not the only ones that are looking for different, better countries abroad than the US. Even Gemini founders are exploring new UK base amid US anti-crypto policies. Now, I'd personally like to say that the UK is not the best. As you guys know, they banned a lot of banks for participating in the crypto realm, but well, it's better than the US at least. Talking about things that are shitty, we've got Ledger update. So Ledger apparently is now stating that they're not going to be going through with their recovery option. Well, they are, but they're waiting for it to be completely open source first. So they probably didn't expect all this backlash, which we already stated before. I don't think they perceived it to go this bad, and they probably had a plan to make it open source at some point, but right now, before even getting this feature out there, they want to make sure that people can kind of like poke at it already and see exactly what's going on to better have an understanding. Now, I've been seeing on multiple different places that Ledger employees are coming out to different shows to explain their sides of the story. And as I've stated, I'm not really against Ledger on this. I personally think this recovery feature was necessary because they wanted recurring customers. And if you think about it, Ledger's model is like this. Client or customer buys once, potentially buys twice, and then probably never again, and it lines flat. Through a subscription method of $10 a month, every single person that buys in the future, well, they're stuck for $10 a month. So they're now all of a sudden, instead of a hardware provider, they're a SaaS company, which obviously for their valuation would be detrimental or just insanely good. And the CEO says the past week has been a humbling experience and apologized for the firm's miscommunication. Some employees were also pretty dumb in how they communicated this. Talking about things that are bad, like I already said, a project apparently is just taken off with $31 million in an alleged exit scam. Zach XBT believes that the project likely exit scammed after bridging $31.6 million to multiple addresses on Tron and Ethereum. And what we're talking about here is D Fintok, or Morgan DF Fintok. It appears the team behind the Ponzi D Fintok has likely exit scammed with $31 million in USDT on the Binance Smart Chain after the funds were bridged to multiple addresses on Tron and Ethereum. And people reported being unable to withdraw. Fintok advertised 1% daily ROI and claimed to be owned by Morgan Stanley. The team page on the Fintok website names Bobby Lambert as the CEO, but in reality, he does not exist and is a paid actor. Previously, both the Singapore government and Morgan Stanley issued warnings about this investment scheme. He's indeed just an actor, or at least a person, I'd say, that is not an investor like this, and it apparently has already received some warnings in the past, but people still are stupid enough to fall for it. It's diving a little bit deeper. Nick says impossible. It says right here that it's proven that there's no risk in this investment due to hybrid technology. Yeah. And now there's another little bombshell of sorts. Maybe I shouldn't say that on YouTube, but CCTV, China Central Television. What did they just do? Well, apparently they just broadcasted crypto. It's a big deal. The Chinese-speaking communities are buzzing. Historically, coverages like this led to bull runs. Not saying past predicts the future and not financial advice, but Dasha Chowza said, it's not necessarily a bull market when there are Chinese people involved, but it's definitely not a bull market when the Chinese are not involved. And he says can't argue with that. And so I'm not completely sure what this whole thing is about. Not gonna lie with you, I have no idea. But I see a picture of buy bitcoins, withdraw cash, redeem, which well, it's bullish, I'd say. Well, I think that's the most important part for today, actually. One additional thing I'd like to state is that in a couple of hours from now, I believe 2 hours from me recording this, we're going to be getting ourselves the FOMC minutes. Just wanted to quickly make that clear that that is coming up. And I just always recommend you guys to stay up to date with the Trading Economics website to just see whatever new announcements come out and when. I obviously will be giving you guys updates whenever something important is coming up, but sometimes I might forget. And you always want to make sure you see the announcements up front, because these things can move the price quite significantly, so you always want to stay in the loop. And also, you might be asking yourself, will this $1 billion cash reserves fund idea actually increase the XRP price? Well, if you think about it, a lot of the things that Ripple does do have XRP in mind. And so even though in theory, it does not necessarily have to, historically speaking, most of the time it has. For example, with their whole Ripple Net system, even though in theory it does not have to use XRP, they decided to fit in their on-demand liquidity, which does utilize XRP within that one piece of software. And I believe now for their entire billion fund here, they're expanding the crypto world, which obviously at the end of the day also is bullish for XRP, while also driving a bullish narrative for the entirety of crypto. But I honestly believe, even though Ripple is exploring different verticals, they will always keep, because it's in their best interest too, but they will always keep XRP in mind. And so if you're seeing them spend $100 million on a new acquisition of sorts, probably, if it was not so annoying in the US, they would do their best to make sure that XRP is incorporated in a proper manner in there too. Because once more, first of all, XRP is part of crypto, and their fund or their money set aside is to make crypto bigger, so it just makes sense. And second of all, they have a lot of XRP, so it makes sense that they try to get more adoption for that too. Even though they're not the only player to do that, it does make sense from almost every single perspective for them to act in the best interest of it. Anyway, that's about it for today's video. I've covered a lot of cool, juicy news. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.